In this video, I'm going to break down how to get an AC/DC style Angus Young guitar tone using Bias FX2. We're going to build the tone straight from scratch. Real quick, if you're looking for a guide to help you build amazing guitar tones in your home studio without a lot of fancy gear, you can download my guide, The 5 Steps to Perfect Guitar Tone, in the description down below. It's 100% free and it'll give you a nice roadmap for building guitar tones that sound great and help your recordings in the home studio. Anyways, let's launch into the session here as I build out this AC/DC style guitar tone from scratch with Bias FX2. Okay, I'm in the session now. I have a couple DIs tracked for us for reference. All right, so this is the stock sound that comes up in Bias FX2. It's a blackface, Vox Fender sound. That's cool and all. That's not going to help us get the AC/DC sound. So what does Angus Young, what does someone like him use in AC/DC? He's pretty standard with the SG going into a Marshall. Not a lot of effects, not a lot of reverb, chorus, delay. So it's a pretty straightforward tone, but difficult to achieve at that. So we're going to be looking at some form of a Marshall sound to help build this out, really tweak it with the knobs and EQ. I'm not looking to use too many like drive pedals or things like that. So in Bias, I'm going to replace the amp here. We have quite a few options. I'm going to look at crunch. Like I said, I don't want this to be overly gainy. I want to look at something that would work in stereo as well. So let's go with the British Lead 800. This is the Celestion 75 cabinets. Let's just see what kind of sound we get here. I'm going to turn the gate on as well. That's not too bad. Not quite there all the way. That's pretty dark sounding. There's a little less mid-range, I think, in the AC/DC sound, despite it having quite a bit of mid-range. So let me swap out a cabinet here as you see me kind of build this out in real time. This would be the Marshall cabinet. That's a little bit closer. I'm going to try a few more amps just to see if I've sort of tested everything. Here's a modded Plexi version 2. Sometimes it's helpful to shoot out a few different amps to see which one's working best. Cabinet's also going to really affect the sound as well. But this is where the tone really starts. Yes, you can all day try and shape it with the EQ, but really the amp and cabinet are going to shape the tone the most, and probably the cabinet even more than the amp in some cases. The amp is really built out to help you shape the gain and the response of the tone, while the cabinet really is sort of the filter for the entire tone's sound. What I want to look at is the other amp we didn't try here, which is the overdriven GAM 45. That's pretty similar to this. This modded Plexi has a little bit more bark, so I'm going to roll with that. What I am going to add is a bit of a boost pedal. We may end up not using this, but I want to add a little extra gain. Without having to crank the gain too much on the amp. That's not bad. Let's test a few different cabinets. That's the Celestion Vintage 30. This is the Marshall cab. Okay, that's not going to work at all. That's way too scooped. I think I like the Vintage 30 the best. Let's mess with the mic position. You see, the closer to the center and the closer I got to the actual cabinet itself, we started to get more mid-range bark. The further away I took it, it gets thinner and a little more scoop. So we can use that to our advantage here as we use the SM57 model. That's a mic position I'm liking. Let me boost the mid-range on the amp. The tone's not overly trebly either. It's not like it's almost Green Day sounding. It's not really supposed to be super trebly sounding. It's supposed to have a mid-range push, a nice top end, but it's also not too blooming in the bass as well. Sometimes to keep the tone present while removing some of the fizz is to back off the presence knob a bit. You don't want to do this too much or the tone's just going to be really dark. Just kind of roll the knobs back and forth to see till you get a tone that's really much more dialed in. Let's go to this section here. That's certainly getting close. Let's add a reverb to this here. Looks like we have a new reverb as well. I'm going to add the vintage spring, see what that can do for us. Okay, that's a lot. Let's see if we can dial this in. Maybe I won't use that one. Let's go with the digital reverb. I think a chamber works well. Just to give us a little decay here on the tone. What I'm going to do is pull up the song on my YouTube Music and take a listen to make sure I'm dialing in the tone. You might not be able to hear this because AC/DC is known for being a bit of a copyright police. So I'm going to play it real quick here for myself, my own reference. Okay, so their tone was a little darker than mine. We're going to work on that. Other than that, mine's pretty close. Let's add a stock EQ, the EQ10. Let's roll off everything below 80-ish, 100. And use a high cut around 15K. Nothing really too useful, especially in digital amps up there in that range. Let's add a little boost to the mid-range. Really, the reverb, yes, it's for ambience, but you can also use reverb as color in a way. It's sort of just adding a nice little texture to the tone, especially with digital amps, like something like Bias FX 2, adding a short room reverb or something like that. Even someone like Nala uses this trick. It just helps feel like the guitar was recorded in an actual room when you're using something like an amp sim. So I think this is always good to throw on. In the mix, it's not going to become too apparent, but it does add some nice life to your track. I'm hearing something in the low mids. So I'm kind of scooping that actually, but adding some lower 120. So I'm not sure if I like it with the boost pedal or not. I'm going to toggle it here. It might work without the boost pedal, and then you could hit the boost pedal maybe during a solo or something like that. Let's go to the beginning of the riff here. So that's sounding really good to me. I'm going to go ahead and upload that to the tone cloud. So let's go shared tone cloud, AC/DC, back in black. We'll put that under rock, I think appropriately here. I'm going to upload that there. So that's how to build out an AC/DC style guitar tone back in black is what I'm thinking there. You could dial down the gain for some of their earlier albums. I think that would work great there, but really Angus Young, an SG into a Marshall, and you're pretty much going to get there as long as you tweak the EQ properly. So that's my approach to building out a guitar tone, especially like a classic tone like that. You can get my free guide, the 5 steps to amazing guitar tone in the home studio. That's 100% free guide. Go ahead and check that out if you're struggling with your guitar tones, and watch a whole bunch of my other tone match tutorials I have here where I build out tones from scratch. And if there's any tones you'd like to see, leave a comment down below. And anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.